Yes, I needed to push the recording button because I tend to forget that. So I don't know if you guys have ever done Zoom meetings before, but there's always 2 or 3 things that I always need to remember to do. So anyway, it's my pleasure to lead this webinar. I'm doing it for NACM. I was excited to do it because of just the partnership that I have with them. So it's great to be able to meet you guys. And I gave you a little background in my email about myself. But if you guys in the future have any questions or thoughts, here is my email, which I've communicated with you via my email. But I also have a website if you want to know more about me. I'd be happy to answer any of the questions. Kind of the background behind this webinar is I began in about February, March, putting together a class called Essential Elements of Effective Ministry for NACM. And I'll be sharing about this class throughout the webinar. But in this webinar this morning, we're going to be talking about leadership and how our personalities play a huge part in our leadership. And so today, you're going to learn how God designed you and the people around you and how that impacts your leadership style. And I will be unveiling the strengths of our different styles today and how we can improve our communications with those we live and work with. So we're going to specifically looking at our styles and how they impact our leadership, our parenting, and even our marriages. And I'll be giving you some examples in my own life. And at the end, I'm going to talk about how these change the way we do leadership. So I can see both of you on my screen. So if you guys don't mind, have either one of you taken like a Myers-Briggs personality style or DISC or anything like that? You guys could just unmute and tell me.
I did the Myers-Briggs many years ago.
Okay.
It's been a long time. I've done the spiritual gift inventory and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. What about you, David?
Actually, I'm taking the course Soul Care.
And
the second lesson had to do with personality type. We did the S.E.L.F profile.
Yes.
So we had to do a little bit of a write-up on it.
Okay.
So
yes,
I have done that one. And back in winter 2018, I did the Myers-Briggs type indicator in a course I did at Tyndale Seminary. And then back in fall 2015, I did the Strength Finder 2.0 in a course I did at Tyndale Seminary. I may have done others too, but those are the ones that came to mind when I was doing Soul Care.
Okay, so so I'm going to give you a little history, but what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the DISC. So all of those are great because they all feed into the same thing, what I'm talking about today. So I'm glad you guys have a little bit of a background in it. And I'm going to specifically center in on the 4 different personality styles and how they impact leadership. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to just kind of do a little exercise with you. So on your screen, you'll see all these numbers. And what I want you to do, you can use your finger. If you have an Expo marker, you can put that on your tablet or your screen or whatever. Is what I want you to do is I want you to start with the number 1. And I'll show you where it is. And then what I want you to do is you take your finger and then I want you to go find the number 2. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. And so I want you to count as far as you can go, just seeing where the numbers are. Okay. So let's begin. So I'm going to get my timer open. Okay. So go ahead and go.
Are we drawing a line or just pointing to them or?
Just pointed to it, just in consecutive order. Find the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And see how far you can get.
I'm at 6. I'm at 7. I'm at 8.
5, 6, 7. Okay, 6, 7,
9.
Okay, stop. Okay, you got
8.
10, 8. Okay.
8.
I got 9.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to show you something. I'm going to put these lines in here, and I'm going to show you where the numbers are. Okay, here's 1, 2, 3. See how they're in the quadrants? 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the pattern continues like this. Now, what I want you to do is I'm going to give you 30 seconds again, and I want you to start with number 1, and I want to see how far you get. Okay, ready, go.
Oh, but it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14.
Okay, stop. What did you get to?
18.
Okay.
You just got as far as 14.
Okay, that's all right. That's all good. Don't worry about it. It's not, it's not a competition. Okay, but I want to see, once you become aware of a pattern, then you know what to expect. So like, look at these 4 patterns. And based on these patterns, what do you expect to see? Right?
Animals.
Right. So you're going to see a Dalmatian, a lion. I mean, you know, because you know those patterns, right? And so we understand that when you change the way that you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's just, that is life. So it's the same as true of all people who have gone before us. For instance, God has built us with a personality style, characteristic patterns, and strengths. And he wants us to accept ourselves the way he has designed us. Now, it's super easy for us to not do that, right? We like to compare ourselves with others, which leaves us feeling jealous, resentful, or dissatisfied. Excuse me. But on the flip side, sometimes when we think we're doing better than other people, we feel arrogant or proud. So we don't understand our design and we try to be like other people, it increases our stress. And this is what happens when we have been put in leadership positions. Like, we say yes to too many opportunities that don't fit our God-given design, and it overall decreases our satisfaction. We conform ourselves and we try to be someone that we are not. We project ourselves, often our gifts and our personalities, onto others and expect everybody else to act and think and behave and feel the way that we do. But see, we're all created differently. We have different personalities, we have different abilities, and even the Bible tells us that we are to serve God with using our different gifts and our abilities. So when you look at who God is, and like, just for instance, when you look at the Old Testament, God is presented in 4 different ways. It's actually presented more, but I just want to point out 4 different ways in the Old Testament. He has the face of a lion, the face of a human, the face of an ox, and the face of an eagle. So when you look at this, you see that God comes to us with 4 different ways, 4 different personalities, 4 different ways. Now, we're created in his image, right? And so if we're created in his image, he's created us to be very different people. So none of us are the same. And so he has taken his own, who he is, his own image, and he's reflected it out on us. That makes each one of us very different. So today we are going to look at the DISC profile. I'm glad that you guys have exposure to it, because each one of these personalities, 4 different personalities, play into who we are. Now, we all have all 4 of these, right? So, but we're going to use each one of these letters to demonstrate a different one. So it's the D, the I, the S, and the C. Now, I want you to think about how God has created us differently. We all have different personalities and different leadership styles. So what I want to do is I want to go through each one of these letters, and each one of us have an emphasis on one over the other 3. Now, some of us will have an emphasis, like I personally have an emphasis on 2 of them, and the other 2 are kind of low in my personal life. But I want to start with the D. Now, D means dominant or direct. Now, have you ever known someone who's direct? That's the D personality. In the Bible, we even know that some of the people in the Bible have the D personality. And one of these people in particular is Paul. So if a person is direct with their personality, they drive projects forward. They're bold, they're decisive, and they're comfortable being in control. And those people are D-wired. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about what those people look like, their strengths, and even their weaknesses. Now, the next letter is the I. It's influencing. It's the person who's the life of the party. Now think about it. Who do you know that's fun? Who's great at telling a story or joke, or who's even very popular? Well, those characteristics indicate that that person may be I personality wired. And today, you and I will talk about how to connect best with them. Those people are I, or they're an influencer. Now, from the biblical perspective, we know someone who is kind of like that. That is Peter. Peter was a very charismatic type person. He wanted to be in the group, and he often was the leader of the disciples. The I style person is persuasive. They like to be in the spotlight. If you like to be the center of attention, you're great at storytelling, and you rarely meet a stranger. You might be I wired. Now, I'm going to talk about how to recognize this style and connect with people who are I wired. I personally am I wired. And so I am the kind of person who does like to be in a group. The third letter is the S person. That is the stable and steady person. Now, is there anyone you know who is loyal, dedicated, doesn't seek attention, and is the backbone of your family, or maybe your at your church? This is someone who always can be counted on to be support people and projects. They are an S wired because they are loyal, and if they are on your team, you love for them to be with you, because this person is the kind of person who loves to stay with you. They love to stay with you to the end of your project. You want them on your project, right? So from the biblical perspective, this person would be someone like John. You know, if you think about who John was with Jesus, he was there, right there with Jesus all the time. He was loyal. And who was the person that Jesus asked to watch his mother after he died? John. And their friendship was deep. And he knew the kind of person John was. He was a supportive type, steady person. And S-wired people are great team players, and they are loyal. Now, the last letter is C. That's a compliant and a person who connects. Now, if you ever know someone who is neat, organized, and structured, they don't prefer crowds. They tend to be quiet and focused on non-details. They might be C-wired. So I'm going to talk about a little bit more about their strengths and their weakness. But from a biblical perspective, this person you would think would be a person like Luke. Now, if it wasn't for Luke, we would not have the chronology of Jesus from the book of Luke and from the book of Acts. He was the person who had the details. He knew exactly what was going on in the life of Jesus and in the life of the disciples from the beginning to the end, when they kind of spread out into the world. So a C-type person is focused on everything being correct. They want everyone to follow the rules, and they like to do micromanaging, right? I mean, those are the kind of people you want on your team because they're looking for all the details. Where the I-type person is a person who they're the life of the party. They're very different personalities. So now, when I'm using this framework, D, I, S, and C, it's not to label us or place us in a box and close the lid. You see, each of us are actually a combination of all four of these. However, this is what makes us unique. This is what makes us different. So today I want you to help to recognize the patterns that illustrate a person's behavior or preference and how we can lean into our strengths and understand our limitations and how those can become strong. But we want to lean into our strengths and understand the people around us, their strengths. So I do want to go into a little bit of the history of this because I think it will make more sense as we understand where it comes from. Now, there's a Greek philosopher. Now, I always work on his name, Empedocles, I think it is, a philosopher in 444 BC. Now, he talked about these four elements. If you've taken any psychology in seminary or somewhere else, you will know that he talked about earth, air, fire, and water. He recognized that people were different and behaved in ways that was influenced by these four elements. Then in 400 BC, Hippocrates developed a theory that each of us is affected by these four internal fluids and identified them as choleric, sanguine, problematic, and melancholic. Now, when these were placed together, it was the turn of the century into the 1900s when Carl Jung developed this theory. Now, if any of you have done the Enneagram, that was also developed at the turn of the century. And this theory took both of their works and further took it into his thinking. And he began to develop the Myers-Briggs, the thinking, feeling, sensing, and the intuition, which takes us to 1928 when William Marston identified the DISC theory in the emotions of normal people. And his DISC theory identified that while each of us is a combination of all four of these categories, we can connect our personalities into behavioral style with the dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. Now, you look at that and you say, well, that's interesting how back in the 400s, they developed this, and then at the turn of the century, this came into being. Most of all the personality styles come off of William Marston and Carl Jung's theories. So today, we can clearly see that these patterns of these four primary behaviors talked about have developed into what Dr. Marston developed his theory. And it began to emerge into a larger theory where today we believe that also heredity from birth, we have distinct patterns of behavior that we are taught. Also, environment, our environment impacts our style. In fact, our life experiences will develop into years have begun to impact our personality style. And then thirdly, our role models. These are role models in our lives who teach us what is valuable and even reward us for certain behaviors in order to reinforce those behaviors within us. So each of these three factors also contribute into our makeup of who we are. So using this framework of DISC, we can begin to identify some of these behavior patterns so that we know what to expect. So if we know what to expect, we can use the right strategy to bring our best work into our relationships. This is where it impacts our leadership. You see, Jesus was perfect in every way, but we have our limitations. And so we have to bring this into our leadership and into our communication. Because when we understand our style, it makes all the difference when us understanding the people around us, their style. So here's a test scenario for you. You're sitting in church and you look around and see a visitor or someone who you don't recognize. What would you do? Are you most likely to just sit there and do nothing? That would indicate that you are more reserved. Now, same church setting. You look around and see a visitor or someone who you don't recognize. What would you do? Do you go over and welcome them into the service? Maybe even joke about the weather. That would suggest that you are more outgoing. Now, here's another quick question for you. You're planning a vacation. Are you more focused on what the needs are to get done in order to go? Maybe mow the lawn, take the dog to the kennel, take your car in for service. Maybe you're lining up the work that has to be done while you're out. You got to make sure you have Wi-Fi. Now, if that is you, then you're probably more task-oriented. Now, vacation mode again. You're focused on who else is going with you. You're caught up in thinking about who you will see when you get to your destination and all the fun experiences that you will enjoy together. Now, if that's you, you're probably more people-focused. Now, people focus is a great thing to be. Task focus is a great thing to be. It's important for you to understand who you are and where you are in your quadrants. So based on your answers, what you would do if you saw a visitor at church, you're probably getting a glimpse on who you are in the DISC personality. So I want to look at the DISC. Well, as we look at them in this quadrants, this kind of helps us to understand a little bit more of who we are. So if you tend to be more the D and the I, you tend to be more of the outgoing type person. If you're down here, as we're using the church illustration, you're kind of on the C and the S, you tend to be more reserved. Now, the D's and the C's focus first on getting things done. And they think about the I and the S, and that is more of the people focused, the influencing steady person. Now, what I want you to notice is that we're not going to talk about introverted extrovert. Okay, Myers-Briggs does that, and DISC doesn't do that because we believe that leadership is made and not born. Every person who becomes a strong leader does it because they have a desire in their heart. Through their persistence, they become the leader that they want to be. And it happens through growth. Same thing with communication. We believe that people connect because they desire to connect and they want to learn to connect. So when we use the DISC profile, understanding leadership, we don't talk about being introverted. We believe that every person on the profile, whether you're D, and I, S, or C, can be a leader, and you can learn how to connect with other people. So if you think you're a D, you are the type of person who is effective and efficient, but sometimes you're more of a difficult person to work with. Sorry to tell you that, but some people find you intimidating. And that's an okay thing, okay? Because I personally am an I and a D. So I'm high on my I, but my D is right behind me. Because those with D characteristics make up 3% of the population. They thrive on control. They make quick decisions. They're direct and they focus on results. Now, don't worry, Ds, there are some great strengths to you. But a D person is a person who can't be stopped. And that's why we look at Paul and the apostle and how he practiced what he preached. He was willing to endure many sufferings and persecutions. Now, think of somebody in your circle of friends and families who's fun to be around with. You can tell stories that capture other people's attention. Now, that is an I-wired person. They tend to be a little bit more overbooked. They often are late for dinner, but when you're having a party, they are the life of the party. Now, I's are great. They make up 11% of the population, but sometimes they forget the meetings that they have scheduled because they're spontaneous. I myself and an I personality, I tend to say, oh, I'm done with my meeting at 9 and I could take my daughter to someplace at 9. Oh, no, I can't because I got to drive. My husband's always reminding me about that because I tend to forget that little tiny detail about I got to drive there, which has made Zoom wonderful in my life because I can actually stop one meeting at 9 and start another, or not at 10 and start another meeting at 10. So, but if you think you're an S, these are people who like to get things done and they keep the atmosphere friendly. They don't like change. You got to give them time. They will come around, but they're loyal and they're helpful and they can be called on to get things done. Now, this is 69% of our population. These people, so if you think, oh man, I think I do know a lot of S personalities, you probably do. These are people who are servant leaders. They're motivated by love to serve other people. And these are the people that if you're planning a project, you need S people on your team because they're going to be loyal and they're going to be there till the end. Now, when you think about C-wired people, you need these people because you've got finances, you want to recruit them because they're going to make sure that you have thought through the detail. As being an I-type personality, I always have a C-type personality with me. My husband's a C-type personality, and I know that I wouldn't get things done if it wasn't for him. Because whenever I've learned this over the years, if I'm planning something, I can sit there, plan through the whole thing, and then I'll send him like a quick text or an email, say, what did I forget? And he'll look through it and he'll go, did you think about this? And I'll be like, nope. And I'll go back and I'll do that. I do the same thing with my work because when I was a pastor, I learned this, shall we say, through the life of hard knocks, because I would make mistakes and realize, oh, that was terrible. That was a bad mistake to make. And so I learned I always have to have C-type personalities with me because they're going to find every detail that I never did. And so C-type personalities are wonderful people to be around. They're compliant, they're analytical, they're planners. 17% of our population are C-type personalities. And again, these are people who you want to have on your team. But when you look at all 4 of these personalities, again, we have all 4 of them in God's given us all 4 of these, but some of them are more dominant in our lives. So let's go back again and look at the D. I want to look at some of the strengths and some of the limitations on each one of these things. Now, D's are focused on results. So much so that they're always working towards something. They're proficient at multitasking. And I'll tell you, I am an I and I'm a D. Now, the way that I'm a D is I always have a task going on, always got something going on. And I'm always trying to get things done. They are driven by authority and they will try to take control. Now, this is where I don't have as much D in me. I'm not going to take control in a meeting. If nobody else is taking control, I will. But they embrace change that will help them get results. They're comfortable responding to direct confrontation. So if you know somebody who's always confronting something, you're always kind of in your face, right? Maybe at work or at home, got D personality in them. Tell you, in my church, when I was working in Ann Arbor, Michigan, I had somebody who was in my ear all the time. This person had no problem talking to me about stuff. And this person was a D-type personality. Here's some words to describe D-wired strengths. They're bold, they're confident, they're decisive, they thrive on resistance, they're comfortable leading, and they're goal-oriented. But here's some obstacles. When a D strengths are out of balance, they can create obstacles. And I always call these as limitations. Limitations keep you from advancing, right? But you can work on them and you can become who God wants you to be. Now, here's some few examples. They have an intensity into their personality. That they can be opinionated and unpredictable because they're not afraid of conflict. They can be argumentative and they cannot relax at times when that's their strong personality. So what I want you to do is I want you to watch this video and then let's talk about this. Oops, you know what? I do this every time I have to stop sharing this. I forget to, if you do Zoom, you know, I have to share sound. Okay, you guys see the video?
Yeah, I see the clip.
Thank you all for sticking with it. This has been the worst quarter in the history of the lady scarf industry. Who knew it was going to be 80+ degree weather most days? But I have it on high authority that the new CEO of our company is going to do great things. And I give you John Smith.
All right, team. All right, team. I'm a no-huddle offense kind of guy, so I'm cutting right to the chase. We're gonna blitz the market with something brand new, a line of socks. They're gonna make you feel as fast as Deion Sanders, but you're gonna look like prime time. We've got the ball, and we're ready to take it to the house. You, name. All right, you, name.
It's Kim.
Karen. Can you picture this team in the red zone, ready to punch it in?
It's Kim.
I can too, Karen. I can too.
Kim.
That's why I've added something to sweeten the deal for everybody this quarter. That's right, my season tickets. We make gold this quarter, you're all gonna tailgate with me on opening day. Now, who's got questions?
No huddle, red zone. Do they sell scarves?
Those are sports metaphors. Okay, so you're not a football fan, are you? Let me try doing this a different way. So, at my last company, we were a paper company, and I turned them into a paper and envelope company. It was a huge opportunity for us to do a ton of great things with a very similar product that complemented what we already did. That's what I see here. You guys are a scarf company. I know you have the expertise. I've seen your work. It's gonna be a bit of a stretch, but together as a team, we can take our share of the sock market too. Now, who's with me?
Okay, so I think that's pretty obvious who the D personality CEO was, right? And that isn't that great? I love the extreme of that, but see how this happens. And as we're talking, you know, think about the people that you work with, people, your family members, you know, like I told you, I've done this with my kids. I know their personalities. I know my husband, I have to teach leadership with people in a different fashion according to their personality. Okay, so let's go to I. I seek a friendly, fun environment. They enjoy being on the go. They're relationship oriented. They're emotional. They're expressive. They're animated. They're great storytellers and encouragers. They treasure great experiences with others. Their greatest fear is rejection and the loss of approval. And I'll tell you, I work with this woman, and she's a friend of mine. We do Clubhouse together, which I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's kind of a new social media thing. And she's and sometimes I'm out like, okay, Joyce, I love her, and she'll tell you that sometimes I just have to kind of draw her back. I'm like, okay, Joyce, it's time to move on to the next point or whatever, because she just gets so in the moment and she loves it, right? Mm-hmm. But I's strengths are they are persuasive, they're generous, they're charismatic, they're charming, they're likable, they're fun, they're optimistic. And then when we get to their obstacles, they're undisciplined, they're disorganized, naive, and so they kind of sometimes feel out of balance. And this again, which, like I said, I'm an I. And I've used these obstacles, these limitations, to help myself as I've grown. And as God has helped me to grow, is that I have learned to use a day timer. I have learned to become disciplined. Not my strong suit, but something that I've learned how to do, especially in my leadership role. All right.
Hey, Mary, got some more reports from procurement for you to process. Sort of reminds you of Office Space, huh? The movie? TPS reports? Guess you're too young for that, huh?
Well, I was still in diapers when you were, getting back into diapers.
Yeah, well, this old geezer could probably help you with those. You know all the codes by heart. Let me know. LMK.
Sure. If I need help, I'll,
I do indeed. Hey, Mary, I wonder if you could help me with something. Minecraft.
Listen, Gary. I appreciate what you're doing, but I'm not 12, and I have reports to process.
Hey, I'm just trying to get through to a friend.
Get through to a friend? That's a song lyric.
Yeah. 20-pound sledge. They were in town last week,
Yeah, I was there. Wait, you weren't...
Oldest guy in the mosh pit.
Oh my gosh, you're a legend.
Try telling that to my grandkids.
Okay, so it's pretty obvious. This was the I trying to get approval and he kept working on her, right? I mean, that's what I's do. They love people and they're willing to do whatever it takes to kind of get that connection. All right. So now let's talk about our Cwired friends. They seek a team environment. They're loyal, they're easygoing, they're agreeable, they're evenly paced, they're good listeners. They're compassionate. They treasure peaceful relationships. But guess what their greatest fear is? Confrontation. And they hate loss, right? And so our S friends are, I was raised in a family, my parents both were S's. And so it was easy for me to pick up on, as I have S in me, right? Everybody has all of them. But the strengths of S's are just amazing. They're hard workers, they're team players, they're stable, they're peaceful, supportive. While the D's and the I's are going to start and lead projects, the S is going to do the details and they're going to make it happen. So when S strengths are out of balance, they create obstacles. They may appear to be too laid back, sarcastic, resistant to change, slow paced, or slow to start. The problems with I or S obstacles is that oftentimes what's going on outside of them is not what's happening inside of them. They're not going to be direct and they will shut down in confrontation. They can appear to be passive and skeptical and indecisive. So if you have S-type people in your world or in your family, always remember with S-type people, what's going on the outside is not necessarily what's happening on the inside. Now, our Cwired friends seek an environment that honors logic and facts. They're compliant, they're accurate, they're detail-oriented, and they treasure perfection, right? Their strength is you want them on your team because they're gonna do your finances right. They're gonna do it perfect. They're gonna look for the detail. They're gonna come down, they're gonna micromanage the whole thing. Then they're serious. They are, they're idealistic, they're organized. They're driven by data and they gather facts. But their obstacles is they can be critical. They can be rigid and legalistic. They can appear to be moody and over analyzing what's going on. They tend to prefer to work alone. I just have to tell you the story of one of the pastors I was working with. I was working with this whole team. And when I realized that he was a C, I didn't realize what he was doing. But what he would do is when he had a project to work on, which is every day when you're a senior pastor, he would go into his room, office, and he'd close his door. And he'd work on whatever. And he'd ask his staff not to bother him while he was working. Now, this is a problem when you're a pastor and things are going on all the time, all the way around, all around you. And so what we had to do is we had to start to help him to see, you can have office hours, but you have to have like from this time to this time so people can still, get a hold of you or approach you. And so we had to talk with him through the season. He was kind of rigid and he overanalyzed things. And it was just obstacles that he had to learn his limitations. Okay, now let's watch this video and see who is this.
And the last delivery to our client promised an arrival time of 2 p.m. 2:04 is not 2 p.m. I expect excellence from every member of our team, and I'm going to experience that excellence moving forward. Am I right? Very good. Wow, she's so organized. This is gonna save me hours, days. Kim Miller to Ricky Ford's office. Kim Miller, report to my office.
Oh, she hates the reports.
2:04 is not 2 p.m. I expect excellence from every member of our team.
Oh man, I can't afford to lose this job. Okay. Get it together, Kim. You gave her what she wanted. Okay, take a leg and a toe. You can do this.
Kim Miller, report to Ricky Ford's office immediately. These are awesome. You paged? Kim, I sincerely can't believe the quality of this work. Did you do this? Yeah. This is really, really good. I couldn't have done it better myself. Oh, did I miss something?
I thought you were gonna fire me. You're so particular and immediately, and
no, Kim, how could I fire the woman that single-handedly saved me days of work and may have set the bar for our department and how we do our reporting? No, I was going to compliment you, thank you, and talk to you about how to teach this to others, how to deliver like this as manager of the department.
But our department doesn't have a manager, though.
It does now. Congratulations.
Okay, so you can see who the S is and who the C is. And, knowing someone's disc style is important because I use this quote from John Maxwell, connecting increases your influence in every situation. And I've heard it said that in order to succeed in life, we need to learn how to work with others. Well, it doesn't really, that is not necessarily the whole thing. It's understanding that it doesn't matter how smart we are, how caring we are, how charismatic we are, we won't advance very far without the ability to communicate and connect effectively with other people. And so I spend a lot of my time with my business working on helping people to learn how to connect, because I believe connecting is also a learned behavior. And so even today at 12 my time, I'm putting on a webinar on the ability to connect with people, because anybody can communicate. And so why we're talking about the DISC profile is because it makes a gigantic difference in understanding our own personality and understanding the people's personality around us. Because when we connect, we have to understand how we treat other people, right? So we know the golden rule: treat everyone how you'd like to be treated. There's actually a platinum rule that says treat others how they would like to be treated. And so when we're connecting with people, we have to think about how they want to be treated. So what's the purpose of communication? We communicate for many reasons. And when we're in leadership, it's so vitally important that we understand how to influence people, motivate them, express feelings, and inform them. Because it's the responsibility of the person giving the communication to properly relay the message. And this has to come in order for the person to receive it. And unless it's done successfully, then the communication never really takes place. And it's often the problem of conflict and misunderstanding. I can't tell you how many family members I have helped. I work with parents a lot, and I have helped so many parents who have tried to use their own personality parenting for their parenting skills, which, I mean, they didn't realize that's what they were doing. But if you take a D-type personality of a parent and you try to influence an S-type personality, it usually doesn't go well. And usually that's where a lot of conflict, especially in the teenage years, happen. And so that's why it's so important to learn someone else's communication language and operate by keeping that platinum rule, caring about the other person, in the forefront of your mind. So let's talk about how we can do this. How can we communicate with each different style? All right, so when you have a D, you want to communicate with the D, you want to be direct and brief and to the point. And then you need to ask what, ask what, not how. When you're dealing with a D, you have to ask what. You need to focus on results. Don't ramble. When you have to discuss a problem, talk about it and be efficient in talking about it. Now, when you're connecting with an I, don't do all the talking. Don't ignore the details. You have to recognize that they want to socialize and they want to talk. And so let them talk, just listen. And then you want to go back and ask if and look for some solutions. And then once you're done, listen to them again if they need to be listened to. With Cwired team members, allow time for socializing and follow up the details in writing, because they've already forgotten what you said at the meeting. In a meeting, make it short. Don't have a 40-minute meeting for an I, because they're going to forget and they're going to get bored. Do 15 minutes at a time. With an S-wired person, and smile. Even if you're not feeling friendly, smile. Create a friendly tone for discussion. Be sure to show interest in them as a person, but don't be overly aggressive with them. Minimize the potential for confrontation. They don't like it. So if you're D-wired, be careful with your S's. S's have a hard time with D people. Just want to put that out there. So if you're working on a project together, give definition to the goal of each person's role. And if changes are needed, give them time to adjust and time to make those changes. Now, when you're working with a C-wired person, help them remember the details. Make sure when you offer up facts that they're valid facts. With a C-type person, you want to be precise in your explanation and to very specific. Patient with them. Answer all their questions. Now, my daughter is a C-type person, and she will ask me 100 questions. And I'm thinking, I already answered that question. Nope, she's gone a little bit farther into the detail. She wants me to understand. She doesn't understand yet. So with someone with a strong C wiring asks many questions, it can sometimes feel like they're questioning you. However, keep in mind they're asking questions to gather details so they can make the right decision. They want to buy in and they want to take the right action. So you see, because we want to build effective relationships. So you need to stop comparing yourself with other people. It's so important to not do that. You need to stop conforming to them because God has made each one of us unique, different. And each one of us with our personalities are different. And you see, God's made each one of us very different, and He loves variety. We must remember that when we're working with people, they're not going to be like us. So we have to figure out who they are and how we can work with them. You know, the Bible gives us plenty of examples of how God uses all types of personalities. And we look at the differences of the 12 apostles. We look at their personalities and realize that God has given to His church specialties for each one of us to shine and abilities for each one of us to do. So it's up to you to find out who you are and up to you to find out who the people around you are. So throughout this course, I've described the person that you were created to be. God has made you unique and different from other people. As you can see, your personality makes a huge difference in the conversations you have, the relationships you have, and the way that you influence people. Over the years in my ministry, I have learned how understanding people's personalities impact their marriages, their parenting, and their leadership. By knowing their personality, it impacts all areas of their lives. You see, this information, once I understood this, it's been invaluable for myself and those who I work with. Now, as we've talked about the DISC profile versus like the Myers-Briggs, I think it's wonderful to be able to use whatever you have in Strength Finders. The thing that I have loved about DISC is that DISC is very short and sweet, and it helps you to understand people. There's not a lot of extra, which is why I like it, because with some other ones, you can become kind of cumbersome. But once you understand your communication and your personality, it changes the way that we connect by helping us to focus on people around us. So if you're at the place right now and you're saying to yourself, you know what, I need to understand myself and the people around me. My purpose this morning is to add value to you and help you grow in your ministry. I want to give you a couple of ways that you can grow and take your leadership to another level. Now, the first way I want to is to share with you what I've done with the NACM, with their online courses. You see, I have over 30 years of experience of working with people and especially in leadership positions. I found that many people who have served in ministry are not prepared for ministry and that they are confronting. They're placed in positions that they love people, but they're really not effective in ministry. In partnership with NACM, I put together a 3-step class to help individuals build a solid foundation in their ministry. The way I put this course together is to begin by taking the DISC profile, and it gives you a 30-page output on your personality and how you interact with others and your own leadership style. Then you set up an appointment with me and I coach you. I go over the profile and begin you on your growth in leadership. Then you continue to take the course, which is outlined. There's 3 different sections. The first course goes over your leadership, your priorities, your self-discipline, and problems that are in your ministry. Then the section 102 will take you into your purpose and your goals. I have tried to build this so that you begin to understand your communication styles and how you influence people around you, understanding conflict and increasing collaboration. So now, if you're sitting there and thinking maybe that class is for me, or maybe it's for somebody that I'm doing ministry with, I want to encourage you to sign up or to get them to sign up, and I'll tell you in a minute how you can do that. Now, if you're sitting there and you say, well, I've been doing ministry for a long time and I've got the essentials down, but I really would love to do this profile. I want to set you up with that also today and give you the opportunity, because it is a 30-page personality profile that I set up a coaching appointment with you, and we go over the entire profile and look at your leadership style and look at your communication style and kind of give you goals to set for your future. Now, the other way is that maybe you're here today and you're in grow mode and you'd like to be challenged to your next level communication and leadership. So the next step in understanding your communication style is I have a 5-week mastermind called Everyone Communicates and We Connect. And I told you that today at noon, my time, I'm going to be doing a 1 hour webinar. I'm also doing that, which just talks about why we don't connect with people and gives you hands-on tips on how to begin to connect with people. So if you have the opportunity and you want to spend an hour again today with me on my webinar, I'm going to give you the preliminary steps on connecting with people. My 5-week mastermind class takes you to dive into how to really connect with people, because unfortunately, we all know how to communicate with people talking, but we don't know how to connect. So I want to give you the screen, and you can you know how to screenshot it. Go right ahead. And these are opportunities that I have for you to grow. And if you know people who would be interested in taking this class, I'd love for them and for you to sign up. I gave you the NACM's platform and login page where you can go in there, and this is the discount code. Since you are a member, you get the discount. Also, for my DISC profile, I want to give you a discount because you've come to this webinar. And you can go to my site and just click on that, and you'll get all set up there. Also, Everyone Communicates Connect is the class, our mastermind class that I'm starting. I'm starting on 2 different dates. So if you want to, you can sign up for either one. You also can email me if you're kind of on the fence and you're like, I don't know which way to go. I'd love to talk with you. I even do a 30-minute free coaching session, which I also wanted to talk to you about my one-on-one coaching. I love doing that with people. I have a discount also for NACM members. I do a 6 session time that just helps people kind of get a direction on where they're going in their growth. And I love to help people in ministry, probably because I have 30 years of experience working with people. And I love to be able to walk with people in their ministry. So I also will be sending an email with all of this on. So I want to.
That's good.
Yes, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. But if you guys have any questions or thoughts, did you get that? I'm going to